Hello, welcome back. Right, we've got this little room that's off the kitchen. We're going to turn it into my wife's little office because she works from home. But we're also going to try and get a downstairs loo in here. It's not the biggest of spaces, but we're hoping, wall here kind of thing. And then a little desk there so she can look out the window and then, she can work there. That's what we're planning. Going to build the wall here. We've just got a few bits and pieces to sort out. If you look up there, where the old sewer pipe up in the bathroom, because the bathroom's above this, the old sewer pipe was on the floor and it didn't have the greatest of fall. When I took all that out, there was all like horrible stuff in the sewer pipe basically. So lowered it down into the joists, and it was just easier to do it from below. So that's all done and like all the pipe work. So I've got to patch that in, and I've still got this little bit down here to finish off on the floor. This is just Celotex. And then a vapor barrier. If you've seen the shorts on, well, if you've seen the YouTube shorts or TikTok, if you follow us on there, you will see me put all this floor down. So this is just 20mm Celotex, then a vapor barrier, and then a floating floor. This is 18mm chipboard. Just got to finish this little bit off here, do the little patch repair in the ceiling, and then start building this wall here. I just want to show you the layout as well, just quickly, so what we're planning on doing. So like I said, it's going to be a very small toilet. I think we can just get it to work. So that bit of pipe lagging is where the toilet's going to finish. Then we're going to get a really small basin. You can get them, they're 180mm wide, but I think it's 365mm. So I cut a little cardboard cutout and kind of taped it where I think it's going to be, just to see if it will work. I think we are literally, it's going to be tight, but I think we are literally just going to get it to work. I'm going to come over from the door. So we're going to come out, we're going to have a little 150mm section here, because that will allow me to get the light switch here. So kind of the way it would work, open the door this way, walk in, close the door behind you, and then you've kind of sit here, do your business. Then you can kind of get up, pull your trousers up. You've got enough room to wash your hands, and then the door opens that way and out. But yeah, that 100, if I leave 150mm there, it allows me to get the door switch. Otherwise, the only thing is to have an old-fashioned pool. Because this used to be a toilet, but the old people took it out and then just left it. So I don't understand what they were planning. But yeah, right. I think that explains everything. So I'm going to crack on with the floor, repair the ceiling, build the stud wall. Hope you enjoy. Whenever I cut Celotex and do like a floor like this, I always tape the edges, like so, the edges that will be like on the outside or going up against the wall. I don't know if it's needed, but my theory is that everything else on it has tape. So the top and the bottom, everything that is like open has full tape. So I mean, I can't see what harm it will do. There's no negatives to it, I don't think. I just like to do it. These pipes are a pain. Who put them in? Idiot. It was me, by the way. Right, that's flooring done. Just put a little bit of weight on it while the glue goes off. So now on to repairing that ceiling. 380 by 715. Really? Right, I've just cut this down to this timber here because the wall for the toilet's going to go here. And then if I put the join here where the wall's going to go, then there's less chance that the join's going to crack because you won't see it because it's going to be behind the wall. It's still touching something. This is a surf form, if you haven't seen it before. Just like a, I don't know, just like a plane for plasterboard. It's going to be funny editing this video and seeing all the funny faces I'm making as I'm trying to hold this plasterboard up. Right, just this little patch left. Let's pull this clothing off. This is all loose and broken up to there, so I'm going to find out where the joist is, the other joist. So that's 295 from there. So the joist is there. What more joist? 45? 50, so let's go half. 25. And cut that section out and then along here. Right, so top tip I like to do is, when I'm doing something like this, is cut the piece first and then trace around it and then cut to that line. Right, batten to take the edge of this plasterboard. Just again so we can screw. Yeah, just so we can screw this edge and that edge of the plasterboard. Loading off with screws. That's always the best way. Need to get one of those loaded ones, really. But it will do, pig, it will do. Right. That is all plasterboarded up. So next thing, stud walls. Gotta have a bit of a tidy up though, because I made a mess. Like they say, without mess there's no progress, and there's no progress without mess. Rightio, it's a new day. I've set out the laser for the stud wall for the toilet, what will be the toilet. I'm doing this and the cupboard under the stairs kind of simultaneously with each other, so that's why it keeps swapping. But anyway, I got the laser ready for the stud wall. I brought in a sheet of plasterboard that you would have seen me do and struggled with. That's so it's there ready, so once I built the stud wall it had been even harder to get any plasterboard in, and I want to put this over and cut around the doorway with it so it's a full sheet over the doorway with no joins. So that's done. Set the laser level here just past the window because I want to insulate these reveals, and that allows me to put 20mm Celotex in between there, and then once the timber comes up here I'll just sail a plasterboard straight across to the window. So then that's that side insulated. But other than that, I think it's just kind of get building. When I've been editing my other videos, like for the under the stairs, I noticed that the camera angles weren't brilliant. So I'm going to try and improve a little bit on the camera angles today, because I don't think you could really see what I was doing. So yeah, bear with me, it's all new to me, but yeah, I'll try and get better camera angles. Let's get to it. Alright, I've cut my first block. This is going to allow me the 150 to get the switch in there, and then so this block is 150 minus the thickness of the timber, so then this one I can just screw straight into there like that. So yeah, just fix this down. What I like to do if it's a small piece like this, or if you're near the edge anyway, is to pre-drill it just so it don't split. Right, and then here we're going to have a 686 door. So we've got 686 for the door. Then I always add 4mm for 2mm around each side of the door, and then roughly the frame's going to be 30mm. So you've got 30mm each side, so that's another 60mm. So add all that together and it comes to 750. So that's what I'm going to make that opening for the door and door frame. So got the timber on there for the what will be our stud work, and then from there I'm just going to measure over 750, and then that will give me my measurement for my next bit. So again, I've cut it back the thickness of the timber, so then this stud can go on there and screw straight in. When you're doing stuff like this, where you've got an opening of any sort in your stud work, it's always better to make these slightly bigger than you need, because it's easier to pack the gap with like packers when you're fixing your door frame or your window frame or whatever. than it is to try it. If you've made it too small, then it's a world of pain to try and then get the door frame in. This old pull switch is in the way. Obviously if you're doing this, make sure the electric off. I know this is off because Sparky's been in and ripped literally everything out, so nothing is live in here except from a few sockets for me. See? Right, the fixing for this one, I want to get into the joist. So because the kitchen ceiling is still down, obviously I can see where these joists run. Obviously I know where that one is because I've cut it, and then I've just been and measured that one to this one, and that's 350, and then that one to the centre of this one is about 330, and I forgot the others. And then this last one is at 400. They're all over the place really. If you didn't know where your joist was, obviously mine's easier, like I said, because the kitchen ceiling is down. If you just get like a bradawl, then you can poke holes, because obviously all that's going to be covered, so you can just go poke holes along until you find the joist. Normally they're about 400 mil, so 40 centimeters apart, but obviously like you see here, they can be all over the place. So yeah, I'd average about 400 and just poke. Don't use like a screw or a drill, because if there's pipes or cables then you might go into them. If you just use a bradawl and just go along, or you can use a magnet. If you get a really strong magnet, sometimes you can go along and you can pick up the drywall screw, so then where the magnet stops, obviously it's attached to the drywall screw, so you know that there's a joist there. And then obviously because I'm on my own, I'm just going to start, I've held that up there roughly where the joist is. I'm just going to screw that in just to get it started, so you don't have to try and hold the screw and start the screw while trying to hold it up there in place. Just get that to your laser line. And send her home. Right, so now I've got the head and the plate sorted. All it is just marking for the stud work, for the actual studs. What you do is mark one end, and then every 400 or 600, if you're doing 600, I prefer 400, especially with the studs being a little bit smaller. I'm going to start mine that end though, so obviously I can start with this sheet. Now your sheets are 1.2 meters or 1200 wide, so I'm going to go from there and mark 1200, and that is my center. That means that is the center of this stud. If I was working the other way, I could go like that and then go 400 for the very first stud, and again that's your center mark. But if you then cut that and screw that in there, when you work your other ones out, you can just take your tape measure off that side and mark 400. So let's just say 400 came here, 400 is there, and then that is the left hand side of that, because that's where your tape measure is. That's where you're measuring from there. So that 400 would be the left hand side of your stud. So then I just put an X. So then you know you can do that for the whole wall, no matter how long it is. Just measure off that one and just mark 400 with the X, because then that just means that you line that edge up with that, rather than trying to find the center of everything all the time. And then all your studs will be perfect for the plasterboard. Also, just because it's a lot quicker and easier, once I've marked that, I'm just going to put the laser level up and then mark at the top exactly where it is, and then you know your stud is perfectly level, especially when you're dealing with lengths longer than 1.8 length of your level, because if your timber's got a slight bow in it, then if you've got each end perfect, you can get the bow out once you come to do your noggins. Again, just make sure you put an X on the side of your stud work. if your stud keeps moving every time you're trying to spike it in, just get a clamp and clamp it across, and then it stops it moving in and out. Right, I've had to get a light because it's going a bit dark and you can't really see what I'm doing. All the stud work's done now. All I've got to do is the head of the door frame and then a few studs up above that, and the noggins. The height of the door frame, see, normally with this, hopefully the light don't kill it, but this door frame here, normally I would just take that across no matter what it was, because when you've got your architrave and everything, if one was slightly higher to the other, because they're so close together, it'd look a bit horrible. But that is, so most of mine in here are all concrete because it's all block wall. This one has been put in separately and it's timber. So I'm going to put this to the height that I want it, which is, your door height's normally 1981 plus your thickness of your timber. So you're normally allowed 2 meters, but I've got the underfloor heating and the finished floor to go on top of this, so about 25 mil has got to come up. So I'm going to go at 225, so 2 meters and 2.5 centimeters, or 2025 there, and then level that across. And then what I'll do is I'll move that head of that door frame up to match it. Right, just working out 4 noggins. I'm going to put mine in the middle, so equal top and bottom, which works out just over 1.1. I don't need to worry about light switches or anything. There's no light switches going in this part. My light switch is going over there. So I can just put this where I want. That side, I think the maximum for a light switch height is 1.2 to the top of the box. So I will just put that one higher. But when he knocks his box out, there's not a noggin in the way. Right, so this first one, I'll measure this gap here for this noggin, making sure this is straight. So I'll get the laser level and just make sure this hasn't got a bow in it. And then I'll measure this one, screw it together, and then the others, I will measure the bottom, because then if these have got a bow, because we've lasered it top and bottom, we know that the top and bottom is perfectly plumb. Then if we take the measurement from the bottom and bring them up here, if there is any bow, it will pull it whichever way it needs to go to get the bow out of it. Also, I don't know if I mentioned, I put this stud in where it is because 400 from this stud was somewhere like here, but I'm going to build a box in the toilet that comes along here. So I've put that in where I think that's going to be. So then when I screw a batten there to take whatever I box that in with, there's a stud I can screw straight into rather than just the plasterboard. Way all done. Stud work's all done. This one up here, I would just put slightly out of center because we'll probably have a isolation switch up there for the extractor fan, and I want that center. So I've just moved that slightly over so the box don't hit that. All the noggins are in, this little one's in. So just time to put the plasterboard on now. I'm just going to try and get this plasterboard in then. I've had to cut this here because the wall literally goes whoop. But hopefully, I can't really record much in there because it's so small and it's really dark. So I'll see you in the next phase. I don't know how well you're going to see, but what I've done is I've just screwed all the plasterboard everywhere I can around the door, and then I'm just going to cut through. Whee! Nice, we've got a doorway. So the reason I've done it like that is so if you have joints here, hopefully the light's not, if you get joints here and the same on that side, then when the door opens and closes a lot, you can get movement, and then you'll get cracks above the top of your doors and it don't look very nice. So this is just to try and help prevent cracking, really. People say it's a waste of a sheet, but I'd prefer that than cracks above my door, to be honest. Right, I'm going to end the video here. Thanks so much for watching if you've got this far. Please subscribe for more, like and comment, and I'll see you in the next one.